All right, guys, Sam back with you here. It's Wednesday, July 25th. We're midday, and we have polled our Twitter followers. We'll let you guys pick today which altcoin we were looking at, and after that polling, we have Litecoin as our winner. So I've got Litecoin up here. This is my primary count on this. Now we'll get over to the hard right edge here in a second, but let's just for a quick review of where we've been. So a very complex and long correction. Now, we've looked at it before, but just to review here from our peak up here at 420, I'm counting this as an ABC into a W. There's our X. Then I've got 5 down into my A wave. I've got 3 into my B wave. Let's see, I got to show it to you here. So they're in blue. So I get an A, B down here, and then I get this 5 gives me the C of B. So A, B, C. Then I come down in 5 again. And there was a fib relationship here. So if I take from the start here at the X wave, I take the start of my A wave to the end of my A wave and project up here to my B wave here. If I get it right on there. Let's see. There, close enough. You can see we've come to, here's the 618, the length of the A wave projected from the B. It's not to the tick, but we're awfully close here as we hover, and then move away from it. So I think that's a reasonable candidate to complete this ABC to give us our Y wave. Now I do hear this was a point where it was a little disappointing. It looked like the low might be in because we do get this 5-wave structure, ends up being just another X wave. But I can't count that as anything other than a motive wave, right? It's perfect support here for the 1 wave, does not overlap. It's perfectly technical. Oh, as I recall, this was right on the money. All right, so we come right to the 50. The 1 holds it. We go up to target. They get it. So that gives us an X wave. And then from here, now it's probably be counted a couple of different ways. This is a little bit tricky here, so I'm going to go down to the 1 hour here and dig into this. Just for clarity here. So from this, here's how I'm counting it. And certainly it's valid, right? So I've been through all of it here. We have this 5-wave structure takes us down. We get an impulse down. Here's our ABC into our 4. We don't threaten the 1. Down we go, and we complete here in 5. The part of this count that is a little problematic, as in it's not traditional, is the shallowness of the B wave here. So if I pull from my X wave top up here and through the completion of that A wave here, as I have it labeled, we do get our little 3 wave here, but this is very unusual for the B wave to be that shallow. Yet there it is, right? So we come right to the Vegas wave, and then we roll down here. So you can see here we do get this algo target is hit. You know, it's hard to know what they were doing here. That could be left over from this. Perhaps the 38 here, and they got it here. It's hard to say. You see, the reason I stick with that is that if I allow for this as the B, the 5 waves down from here is absolutely perfect. So it's not unlike, of course, as you'd expect, what we see in Bitcoin, where we had the shallow B wave there as well. So given that, I get an A, B, and then I can go 1 ABC into my 2, down from my 3. Here's my little ABC for my 4, and then I finish in blue here 1, 2, 3, 4, and it looks like I finish with a diagonal. And then this was equally, as I recall here, this was equally technical. So if I look here for my length of my 3 to the 4, we go right to the 38 in the Vegas wave. Then we get, so here's algos getting their target right here. And then we've actually got a little more into it. So 4, then we go 1, 2, and I think even that was good if I recall here. Let me get this off of here. So if I dig even further, working off of this section right here, if we pop this up, if that's my 2, as I have it labeled 3, I get my A, B, C here into my 4. All right, and it looks like we finish with a diagonal. So if I measure that, taking the length of the 2, pivot up here to my 3. All right, so here's my ABC into my 38 for the 4, just where I'm looking for it, and then we come down, so we have an unrealized target down here. All right, so this, let me move all of this up here. So all I've done here is just wick off the lowest low. So that sits there. It's there. So we have an unrealized target down here, as I will often remind you. Just because we have a target doesn't mean it must be, it's inevitable that it's reached. So I look at that and I think, okay, well, I've got a pretty good pivot down here as a contender for a hard low. So even if I pull all the way back out here and look at this, well, this is the only area where I'm a little bit hesitant, where my conviction is not as extreme as it might be given the shallowness of that B wave. But I just, from this pivot, I get this perfect 5 wave down. So I'm leaning this way, that I've got my pivot low in here. So if now here's where it gets a little tricky. So let's focus in on this from that low, allowing for that potentially, which would be, of course, very similar to what we're seeing in Bitcoin in terms of where we have that low. Now here we did get the hard low here, which I'm labeling as our pivot. Now coming off of that, right? So this is where it's, some subjectivity has to be allowed for here. I'm showing this as a 1 wave that's completed with a truncated 5. All right, I don't see any other way to count it. I can get 1, 2, 3, 4. We fail to get the new high here. But then upon pivoting here, failing on that new high, I get a nice ABC down. I come and I've got subdivision here to give me a double bottom here for my candidate for my second wave, completing the ABC. And let's see. So an algo is not caring about a truncated 5th. It's just going to use the pivot high. So we come here, golden zone, boom, but they're through target. And I think we got it twice here. So if I recall from this pivot here, if I'm not mistaken, right? So we come back, look at that, right into the Vegas wave at the 50, and then yet again another unrealized target. So what do you deduce from that? Well, I certainly have a good pattern here. I know this is deep for a 2. This double bottom here, it's really a triple bottom. See, so we test it 1, 2, 3, then we look across. So we get kind of this full area. So I would just do it this way, pull it over this way. It looks like we've got, now if I include the low here, I've got a pretty good area of support that's established down here between, we call it 74 and change and 72. So pretty good area of support down here. Well, can I get an Elliott count that fits here? It's a little squirrely. Now, it's not unusual to see this kind of volatility, and here we certainly would have a diagonal underway. This is very typical as a market fights for a new trend. So in that process, so this is why you will find diagonals at trend changes, whether it's an ending diagonal completing a 5th or a C wave, or a leading diagonal as the market is fighting to change the trend. So thus you get the deep swings. Well, I'm sticking with this here as a truncated 5th to give me a 1, ABC down for the 2. Now, granted, that is deep for a 2. So again, I'm just wicking off the lowest low I've got here. Now, here's where it's a little bit tricky here. So we, with our Elliott hats on, say, truncated 5th, there's my 5. Algo's not going to care about it, but it ends up not mattering because we get through the 6-5 here. So, then you think, well, what would they have done if this is broken here and we come down? Now, with our Elliott hats on, we say, okay, well, there's a deep 2. We went to the 887. That holds. It gets tested 3 times, and then we get a pretty good rip. Well, here's where it's a little bit of a conundrum, right? So notice where we end up, right to the algo target. So, I can't explain it to you. I mean, we can look at it and say, well, if they flipped here to the next 50, well, then we can just kind of work through that and say, well, did they do this? Did they go here? Here would have been the next sell for them, since we broke here up to the 50. Now that target doesn't get hit either, and then they break again, right? So algos are struggling here, assuming the algo that is flipping at 65 is looking again. So now we break yet again. So you got to check 2 pivots here, and then all the way halfway back. So as we've got a potential diagonal underway here, if I get that right on. So I've got a candidate here as a 1, right? If you'll allow for the truncated 5th here to give us a 1. A, B, C, down I go for my 2. Up for my 3. Now I'm looking for reaction. I'm looking for something technical in that relationship between the start of the 1 and the peak of the 3, assuming this is going to play out this way and it's not just a big ABC, which it still could be. So with that, we come, just a couple of ticks through the 65. you know, again, it looks like they stay with it for whatever reason. I can't explain it to you, but then we come here. This is why I have this as I C, because it looks like I've got a clean 5 down to give me an A wave, 3 waves into a B, and then it looks like here, again, I've got another truncation. And the reason I'm leaning into this a little bit is twofold. One, as I've shown in prior videos, if you see it at one prior pivot, it's not uncommon to see it at the next major pivot here. So truncated here. And this is technical. Look, so this becomes the front run on the 618. So it's possible this is just, oh, spike, volatility, a market order, who knows. Or for whatever reason, it gets through by just a couple of, it's like 20 cents. It gets through, and then we come up here. Now you think, okay, well, maybe they're coming back the other side. Well, if I come here to my A wave low, we don't quite get it into the golden zone. There's the reaction, and they get through. Well, now they're through with pretty good distance from it. So now I look at that and I think, well, that looks to me like this may be my technical pivot here for my 4 in this diagonal. So I'm allowing for a truncated 5th into my 1 and a truncated C wave into my 4. Well, you know, you can say, all right, I think you're forcing there. Well, I hear that, you know, I understand that, I recognize that in my own analysis. So, you know, I have to look at that and say, am I forcing the fit there? Well, then it becomes a matter of, well, how else could you count it? Well, I suppose a bear could count this as 1. So a bear could look at this and go ABC. Right? That's all we've done is an ABC. This 5 waves down, this impulsive structure here becomes a 1. This 3 waves is our B, and then we're going down for a big 3 to head to much lower prices. Well, you know, that would be the bear's perspective on it. I don't see it yet, and I would lean bullish here until proven otherwise. So given this as a candidate for a leading diagonal. Well, so if that's going to be my 4, well, I've got to at least stay with a diagonal structure here. So do I get 5 here? Do I get an ABC? Well, you know, if we want to be precise about it, given that we're likely experiencing, if this is going to complete, we'll have a diagonal. So we might look for this as an A, this is a B, and then we're maybe going up here for a C. Let's get that, get out of our smallest count there. We can get up to, at least we can get to micro. Okay, so candidate here would be AB. So with this, knowing, all right, let's put this up here. So we've got a candidate here. We've got a target for our 5th right here. All right, algo target. All right, let's take that off. Well, if this is going to trade, if this is going to hold as my 4 and an ABC, well, I can see a couple of things. So that just right off the bat, this looks like trend line support. And then I've got, because it's a 4, I can allow for a triangle of sorts. So if I bring that down, and we'll tighten that up here. Looks like I may have an AB into this 4, and now I've gone AB here. Well, I'd expect that to be technical. So from what I'm proposing as my 4 low up to my A wave, right? We'll see how it plays out. What do? I come right to the goal. So, it's unbelievable. So look what happens here. We come right into the lips. We go into the lips of the goal of the Vegas wave, just shy of the 618. That gives me a candidate here, nothing more, just nothing more than a candidate for my B wave. Right, if I pull back out, if this is going to continue as a diagonal. So if I'm going to get from here, if I'm going to get ABC, well, I've got some targets up here. This would be, we know that's going to be very close to the 1618, which would be an extreme, but it finishes the diagonal rather nicely. So back to where we started, if I now put the full algo pull on it, right? So look at this confluence I get up here. Right, so there's my target, and then I can, oh, well, of course, we're going to put a pitchfork on it. So we'll look, well, let's check the first one. So with that, from my first low here up to my 3 high, yeah, let's see, let's go to the lowest low here. Well, of course, we got to get out of modified. Let's go to original, see what that looks like. Maybe we may be too far away from it. So let's just check here. If I come here, that's a little more. It looks like, so I've got 3. So I've got a triple bottom here. So I've got 3 lows to pull from here. That gets it. Yeah, I like this second one here. Looks like it's this one here. All right, so we look here. Now remember what was there. Now, let's see. This is our target up here. Remember here at this 3 that we had the algo target from our pivot down here up to our 3. So I get that right on there. All right. So, all right, guys, if you see something like that, that's a tell. All right. So you've got perfect confluence here. You've got an algo target at the median line. Right, so that's why I'm leaning into this as a 3, right? So now it's relatively short, right? So because we're in a diagonal, we got to check the length. So we know 1 wave, 3 wave, 5th wave, it's going to play that way. 3rd can't be the shortest. That's the only thing we're concerned about. So this would be a tell. So the suggestion here is that from that pivot, right? So an algo, not thinking Elliott wave, just there's my pivot. Well, I come down in 5. I see. I'm holding for the. Now, interestingly, from that we come right back to the 50. So we've got some confluence here. So all of that. Now this median line probably too far away from it. Note how the 1.5 holds the outside edge of it. Well, so now I would just work from that prior pivot down here that was significant up to this where we pivoted last time, and look here. So now I pull this over. Now I've got more confluence, so the whole thing potentially tees up. You know, is it going to be right in line? Well, we don't know for sure, but that's certainly a candidate from this low here. If I can get, sometimes trading view is annoying, won't get hot. All right, there we go. So that's my target. So that's the roadmap that I have as a potential leading diagonal to pull us away from this low down here at 72.50. That's my leading diagonal roadmap. Now it's unproven, right? So far, but until we break this pivot, right, it's just unclear, right? Could go either way. This certainly could play as ABC, and we've just done 5 waves into a 1. This is 3 waves into a 2, and this is going much lower. I do not think that's what's happening here, but I certainly could be proven wrong. I think that's where we're headed. That's going to complete our 1 wave of a leading diagonal to give us this, and then the next trade will be here for the 50, and then we go 3, 4, and 5 up here. Let's take that up to a degree that makes sense. So we'll go minuet. Okay, so that's the play that I have, is that we're in here for the 1 wave to complete. Algo target 1618, ABC, up we go, we complete the 1. Now let's pull this all off. All right, so what would that leave for us? So if this completes here in 5, well then the next big trade, so opportunity of course here is to buy it now. That's nothing wrong with that trade. And then if we complete up here in 5 and we get this, now I'm hypothetical, I don't know that we're going to go up there, but if we do, where's the next trade? Right, next trade's at the 50 to the 618. So all we're doing is looking for the 2, assuming, right, and again, it's an assumption. I don't know that we go up here, but if we go up here and complete in 5, I've got my motive wave off the 1, leading diagonal puts in my 1, then I'm looking for the ABC to bring me down and give me my 2 wave, then the big one, right? That's what we're looking for. So there's a roadmap here. It's buyable right here. Right, so if you're looking for a call, there's nothing wrong with it. So you've got, just looking at if you were to buy it here at this 50, we know the target's up here. Stop under the 65, give you 3.17 to 1. You don't have to go that far with the stop. You could be under the B wave. Right, if you want to keep it a little more conservative, now you got 6.5 to 1 if we're going up here. Right? The assumption being that the pivot low is in, we should not come back out and take that B wave low. Take that out. So stop under the B wave, target's up here to complete our 1, 6.48 to 1. Wait for the ABC. Right? I would not sell here. That's not what I'm suggesting. I would not sell here. I would just let that play out, and then I'd be a buyer here. Right? I'm a crypto bull. So I'm looking for the buying opportunities. So I would be looking down here. So here, very tradable. Very tradable. Nothing wrong with that. Good risk reward. Again, as I like to say, why would you not take that trade? Right, you're afraid this is 1, 2. All right. Well, then you better be set up and just chomping at the bit to take this. Right? You know, you get sooner or later you gotta decide: are you a bull or a bear? Right? I mean, because you can always find a count. You can almost always find a count that will fit the opposing view. Almost always. Right? It's just a matter of probabilities. What's most likely here, given what we've seen so far? Well, here you'd have to, here you're making a decision based on your bullish bias, right? This, because I said, this could easily go down here. And now that means things have changed. So that means certainly something has changed with Bitcoin. If this is going to start to sell off dramatically and we're going to take out these lows, well, something has changed with Bitcoin. As long as Bitcoin keeps rolling in the count that it's in, I think this is where we're headed. So that's a trade that, well, you could certainly take it right now. I am long Litecoin, so I don't need to add. But here, I would likely add more. All right, here, I'm just sitting watching. All right, guys, so there's 20 minutes. Okay, that's pretty good analysis. I think that gives you some things to consider in terms of something you could do right now. And if you want more confirmation, you want to be more conservative, here's your next big opportunity over here, but you're going to have to sit through the retracement. All right, so I appreciate you guys following us on Twitter. We do make a real effort to engage with you there, so we appreciate that. Don't forget about this contest that we're running. You'll find the link to it underneath this video. You just click, put your email in, and you're entered. But it's a random drawing, so the more entries you have, the better. That doesn't mean enter, enter, enter. It means if you enter once, then if you tweet, retweet, join our public Discord, like us somewhere, promote. Anytime you do something like that, gets you another entry. So the more entries, the better. Then increase your probability of winning. So just a reminder: first prize, 2 months of free membership. That's not bad. That's $400 value. 1 month, or second prize is 1 month. That's $200, and third prize is 2 weeks. So you got about a $700 value there for the prizes, and we're going to pick. Well, I think we're coming pretty. Well, we got maybe another week or so before we make that drawing. So keep that in mind, and I'll leave you with that, and be back to you tomorrow. All right, guys.